and I remember watching my mother develop her photos in the darkroom as a toddler. I still love the smell of the chemicals she used. I photographed my family growing up and then joined the Kapiti Camera Club about 25 years ago. We moved to our current club in Nelson 13 years ago. I then became accredited as a judge and now also mentor newer club members. I am making more time this year to develop my own photography, which I feel I was beginning to neglect. We are taking time shortly to tour the South Island in the autumn in our caravan. Due to limited mobility these days, by necessity I need to find my subject close to the car while John climbs the mountains. It is not how far you can walk, I feel, but how closely you observe your surroundings. It is forcing me to be more creative, both when taking an image and later in post-production. I look forward to dropping into your club sometime in the near future. So for this competition, there were 23 images in total. 10 were accepted into the show, which is 43%. There were 5 acceptances, 2 high acceptances, 2 honours, and 1 honours best in show. Thank you, Rachel, for reading these out for us.
Good, I can't see a thing. Standing alone, score 1. Your composition is appealing with the tree placed close to the third and layers that progress from the grasses to the river to the layered mountains. The colour feels oversaturated for a landscape with very intense blues and yellows. The sky area appears rather bright and could be darkened slightly with the use of a neutral density filter. Keep an eye on your histogram, which will show you if your highlights are overly bright. When processing landscapes, I add a little contrast, lighten and darken and sharpen where needed. Then, if possible, I live with my work for a few days before adding any additional processing. Standing tall, score 1. The interesting twist to the stem gives this flower a jaunty personality, and the pinky purple colour is rather eye-catching. I must judge the print, which has been squeezed into a smaller mat than the space shown in the digital copy. The print shows the flower head very close to the top and left side of the mat, and I feel it needs a little more room to breathe. Spinifex seed head with shadow, score 1. The light has created a positive and negative in this image. The shadow is the darker negative to the golden colour of the Spinifex seed head. There have been many here in Nelson on the beaches just recently. The image feels rather static, and tilting it on a more dynamic angle, or perhaps taking it from a very low perspective, may have created a stronger image and kept my attention for longer. Zebra in Moremi, Botswana, score 2. There is good detail in this image that shows how individual the stripe pattern on each zebra appears to be. Black and white was a good decision that helped these details to stand out. Good space has been provided for the zebras to look into, although I feel I would like to see the rear end of the closest zebra. The crop feels rather tight as presented, and this became more obvious to me as I viewed the image multiple times. The scene appears rather static, and some interaction between the zebras would have kept me interested for longer. Old Bedford, score 2. This old Bedford truck has probably been sitting here keeping an eye on what is going on around the place for some time. A great project for someone perhaps, as the body looks in relatively good condition. The crop is tight, but it feels comfortable as we can still see enough to give us a feel for the surroundings. The colour green is very intense, and I suggest this might be toned down slightly. This subject may also be a good candidate to convert to black and white if you feel like trying it. Autumn leaves in the orchard, score 2. I liked the low perspective from which you have taken your image. The curvature of the lines of trees draws you into the distance until you reach the small opening. I can imagine the crunch of the leaves underfoot as I wander down the row. My instinct would be to dial back the orange saturation fractionally as the colour is intensified by the repetition and the reflected light. Orchid curves, score 2. Good focus throughout the image and the flowers are showing lovely detail and shading of colour. The background is quite textured, and although I like using texture myself, I find in this instance it is competing for my attention with the flowers. If you made this image by combining two different images, then perhaps blurring the texture layer could soften the effect and make the orchids more prominent. The bare stalk close to the left side is hard to look away from once spotted, so I would advise removing this. Tired swallow, score 2. These fast-moving birds are hard to get close to, so well done for capturing this image. I find if you go to the same spot often enough, birds will become accustomed to your presence. The open beak is more interesting behaviour than a bird simply sitting in one place. The foliage is busy and distracting in this image, and one branch also crosses over the abdomen. Look for an alternative perch the bird frequents, as birds are creatures of habit. Pre-focus and wait for them to land. I like the catchlight in the eye. Wind in the mountains, score 2. I enjoyed the simplicity of this image. The softer feeling mountains with the showers hitting the tops have a painterly feel, and the yellow grass is blowing in the wind. The saturation of the yellow grass is overpowering the rest of the image, and the whites could be neutralized to remove some of the blue in the clouds. I could then see this image gaining a higher score. I feel less is more with landscapes, and this one is worth reprocessing. The small amount of middle distance layer included helps our progression from the foreground to the mountains. Coal Creek Falls, score 2. The speed you used creates nice water trails throughout the image. My eye follows the trails down the waterfall along the river to the foreground as it travels around the rocks. The blue-greys of the water contrast very well with the reddish-brown of the rocks. I must judge this image from the print, which is darker than the digital copy I see on the website. This is most likely what you'll be shown on the screen while the comments are read out. The vignette feels heavy and detail has been lost in the image. I would like to see this image reworked as it shows much promise. Flowerbed impression, score 2. An impressionistic image with movement that gives the feeling of flowers blowing in the wind. It is a riot of colour. The darkness surrounding the flowers is rather strong, and I feel this overwhelms the colourful aspect of the image. I would like to see some details coming through in these areas so that the flower border is not so isolated. Just a small amount of lightning in the darkest of areas would be needed. Golden Rock, score 2. Layered tilted rock sits on a horizontal plane and contrasts with trees reflected vertically in the water. The rock is positioned in the top third with the reflection providing some interesting angles. Perhaps a small increase in contrast and reducing some noise will help bring out the details in the image. This was a difficult choice of subject to hold my attention for long, but you've made some good choices with your composition. Museum in Kathmandu, score 2. My eye is drawn down the narrow walkway to the dark door, which gives a sense of mystery. I then explore all the converging lines and interesting angles in this image. This would be a stronger image without the texture pattern you have applied. It does tease out some of the details I can see in the image, but I feel it is rather strong and competes for my attention. I begin to see the texture more than the image. I think this image is worth reprocessing and using again in the future. Mother and child in Kathmandu, score 3. This is a peaceful and loving moment between mother and daughter who are both dressed in pretty dresses. The tones are warm as though captured in the late afternoon light. The surroundings are mostly unobtrusive, although the post behind the little girl's head is catching my eye. If competition rules allow, then a little darkening of the post could be used to help it recede into the background. Overall, a heartwarming portrait. Blue Light, Lake Pukaki, score 3. I was attracted by the monotone arrangement in cool tones that you have limited yourself to. The combined layered landforms have created a dramatic image that my eye explored with pleasure. Personally, I find the applied texture overpowers the completed image and reduces the excellent potential I can see here. If the texture was included in a more subtle way, then I feel the image may score very well. Boats at Sunrise, score 3. The image is infused with that soft golden glow and warmth we see just before the sun rises, a time of the day I love, and it gives me a renewed enthusiasm for photography. You can feel the expectation of that beautiful day to look forward to. I feel I would personally like to see more of the foreground, including the front of the boats. Having said this, I did become accustomed to the view as presented, and I enjoyed the way the lines on the boats invited me into the image. Journey to Everest, score 3. The story in this image is interesting. It shows two yaks plodding along independently of human leadership, and this suggests they've made this journey frequently. They apparently carry their own food that they will consume on the journey. There is a high clarity to the image which contributes to an over-sharpened appearance, although this could be due to the clear light at this elevation. The man adds a strong third element. Golden glasses, score 3. Blue and yellow always look good together, and I like the way the blue reflects into the glasses and crystal balls, creating an interesting outline. The effect of the yellow light reminds me of fire and ice. The glasses are off-center, although the yellow swirls, which are stronger on the left side, accomplish the balance the image is calling for. This image has a lot of activity and is rather busy to look at. I'm not sure how this was created, but perhaps if more separation between the glasses and the background were possible, this would simplify the image by keeping the glasses sharp and blurring the yellow swirls. Touch of Frost, score 4. The author has framed a very atmospheric scene which feels very serene and peaceful. The hoarfrost has struck in late autumn, and enough golden colour remains to suggest a theme of fire and ice. The mist has an isolating and dampening effect, and the lone duck swimming by provides a resting place for my eye once I have explored the image. There is a suggestion of more reflections, which I might like to see if appropriate. Urban Geometry, score 4. The artwork painted on the side of this building is very well done. The author has also made good choices selecting and deciding where to crop the image. There is a symmetry to the art and the windows placed on the left side of the image, and I like the colour palette that has been used, nicely printed and matted. Māori rock art at Castle Hill, score 5. I appreciated your dramatic and brave composition with the main figure looking to the left and out of the frame. This causes tension within the image. The two figures sitting further back balance the image and also the tension to a degree, and the black and white is perfectly suited to the subject. The processing has creatively toned the image to create the effect of bright whites and dark cloaks. I enjoyed this image more every time I viewed it. Birch Woodland, score 5. I think the presentation, beginning with the matte paper the image is printed on and the crisp white mat that surrounds the image, suits it very well. The velvety blacks draw us into the heart of the image and the bright straight trunks pull us back out. It can be a fine line between enough ICM and too much, and I believe the balance sits just right in this image. The pile of slash at the front right provides an anchor point as I circle around the image. Through the Trees, score 6. This image appeals strongly to me on both a photographic and artistic level. The toning of the print is darker and appeals more than the digital example, which may possibly be projected on the night. The gradients in the colour blue toned well with the subtle golds and gave a great background to the 5 trees. The more dense stripe of blue at the base grounds the image and adds a strong element. I think this would print well as a large artwork. Congratulations for Best in Show.
Oh, it's all right. I'm the same when I do it. Is that still on? Yeah, okay. Thank you, Rach, for reading that. Newell, I believe you've been approached. Newell is a previous patron of our club, is that correct, if I'm correct? And as Diana is away, he stepped in to shake hands with the recipients of the awards. Whoops, hang on, we're going around in circles. Okay, good. I can read those. You can hang on to the ribbon if you like. I'll just leave it there. That's okay. Right, we'll start with the accepted. And the first one is Mother and Child in Kathmandu, Alistair Phillips. Well done, Alistair. Next one is Blue Light, Late Pukaki, Heidi Anderson. Boats at Sunrise, Diana Andrews, who's not here tonight, so I'll keep that. Journey to Everest, Alistair Phillips. Well done. Golden Glasses is Diana Andrews. Again, she's not here. So. Touch of Frost, Paul Williams. Lovely. Very nice. Well done, Paul. Urban Geometry by Janine Money. This is a high acceptance. Then we have Mari Rock Art Castle Hill with Karen McConaughey. Is she here? No. No. Nice image. And Birch Woodland is me. And that's mine, Through the Trees. So, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I don't know if we've got anything else to talk to tonight. It's a quiet, quick night at club. Has anybody else got anything they can... Oh, yes. All right, we'll do a bit of that. Okay. Thanks, Neil. Thank you very much for stepping in there. All right, this is an actual scene that I took stopped on the side of the road on the way down south somewhere. I don't know where I was going, probably on the way to Queenstown. And it's just on the side of the road, and the light hit the birch trees, and they just stood out with their hedge at the bottom, blue sky, and there was a bit of orange through. I've enhanced it and put a texture of, I think it was might have been a scarf actually, textured scarf through it, and just really, it was basically quite simple. But the image, I haven't changed the actual structure of the trees or the hedge or anything else in that. So just played with the colour a little bit. And the other one, the black one. If you can just, can you flick back? Right. Oh, there we go. Thanks. In Hamner, in the Woodlands, when I went up to that weekend through the NZIPP that were running for anyone that wanted to go, really. And we just went for a walk, and again, the light was hitting the trees, and I think that's what basically catches my eye, because I think these are birch as well, or something similar, and they just jump out at me. So I didn't have anything with me other than the camera that was around my neck, so it's the only thing you can do really is a bit of ICM and tone it down a bit. So that's basically what I did, and again, minimal, playing with it. I think there's one tree in there that still annoys me looking at it a little bit, but I've toned that down as much as I can, but yeah, it probably shouldn't be there. But anyway, that's basically what I did to that image. So anybody else would like to? Janine, yes. You have to flick through the images, I can't remember who did what.
So I had a wander around the city one weekend day, and that's an apartment building down Chewham Street Way, I think, and it's quite brightly decorated and really interesting building. And the hardest part was probably deciding where to frame it and then get all those lines straight, because that was a challenge. I don't remember, 55 to 200, something like that. Not really long, but yeah, took me. Oh, okay. Right. Yeah.
What's the image before that? Paul, would you like, this looks absolutely gorgeous. I feel you could touch the frost.
It's a Wairepo arm of Lake Ruatanawha. It's we saw a forecast of hoarfrost, and so we jumped in the car and drove down on Friday to get the light, and it was misty, and this is just how it looked. With the soft light, it's really beautiful, and we took heaps of photos, and that's what I thought. Yeah, and I just saw a duck going by, and I thought that's a good timing to get the duck. Yeah.
It's great. You've just got to stand and wait.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to see a hoarfrost. I think they you can't really predict them too far in advance, though, can you? I don't think. Otherwise, I think everybody'd be down there, because it looks beautiful. It's almost like you can feel the texture just by looking at it. What's the previous image, Rach? Oh, Diana's not here. Okay. Alistair, have you got something you'd like to add about this image? You want me to? I'll pass it to you. Yeah, why not? Okay. Thanks.
Probably the previous one would be, or the mother and child, Kathmandu. Well, we can talk about this one. Yeah, this is on the Everest Base Camp trek last year, May, end of May, June. Fantastic time. It was the 75th commemoration of the ascent of Everest. 80th, sorry. 70th. Yeah, so it was a great experience, and this is a couple of days from Everest. So yaks can only operate at a certain altitude, over about 3,000 metres. So anywhere under that, they have issues with breathing and what have you. So you start off with mules, and then go to like a cross between a yak and a cow to a certain altitude, and then the yaks take over for the final push to Everest. Oh, well, they live at high altitude. I don't know what the ultimate. Sorry? Oh, yeah, no, that's great. Yeah, yeah, so, yeah, no, fantastic experience. So we're only 2 days sort of away from Everest there. Yeah, yeah, so,
yeah, this is just, again, going out and seeing the light and going, wow, I love that light, and taking the shot. And also I used, as she described, a texture over it. I love textures, but she doesn't, so never mind. I wanted the mountains to stand out, and they didn't stand out so well on their own. So by adding texture, it made them pop. So I thought that was a good way to enhance those mountains. And then also to get the feel of there's more, there's more, there's more. So yeah, that was it. Thank you. Always in the eye of the beholder, yes. Absolutely, absolutely. I used a Photoshop, and I used the paint on the layers. So there's a layers button, and you can go into oil paints and things on there, and you can then change the brush strokes. It's hard to say, brush strokes. You're all saying it in your head now, aren't you? You all manage that one. So it's, yeah, you can change the texture by altering, so you can play on those. Yeah. And that's what I did on the one that wasn't didn't score because it was too textured for her liking. It is on fine art paper. Oh, right. Yes. So you can get that on paper. Right. Right. All right. More. So you do less and then put it on the fine art paper, and it just helps. Yes. Yeah. So that's good. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Thank you.
This is, as the title suggests, taken in Kathmandu on the same trip last year. Just my usual sort of walkabout town. I'd just start off early in the morning and head out and be home by evening and just wander. And I was having a particularly bad day photography-wise. I didn't have any ones that I was particularly happy with. And this was towards the end of the day, and the light was just amazing. You know, almost got quite choked up about it. It was just fantastic. So I managed to pop off about 2 or 3 shots of the mum and her daughter, and one of the wee girl on her own, and the mum on her own, and they were probably my favourite images of my trip. Yeah. I've got a prime 50, but I hardly used it. I used my it's about 28 it's zoom. It's yeah, but not particularly fast, but did the trick. Yeah. So yeah, but like I say, it was all about the light. It was awesome. Yeah.
All right, super. Thanks very much, everybody. I'm afraid I was unprepared to be up here at the front, so I haven't any other notices that I can think of that we might need to mention tonight. As I say, I'll speak to Diana and we'll sort out the sunset outing next week, which should be nice because we haven't had a night out doing anything for a while. Don't forget to take your prints home with you tonight. And also closing for the projected tonight as well. So if you haven't done it, it closes at 11:59. Heidi. You go home and do it now. Okay. Anybody else? Anything? No? Well, thank you for coming. One question from Jan at the back. I'm sorry, yes. Yeah, I'm so sorry. I'm all over the place. We obviously have a visitor tonight. Yes, Laura. Nice to meet you, Laura. I'm sorry I didn't ask. I was really not functioning on all 4 cylinders. But welcome. I hope you enjoyed it tonight. Thank you. Thanks for letting me know. I slipped up. That's great. Sorry. Nice to meet you anyway. Drive home safely, everyone, and look forward to seeing you on the sunset. Thank you. Oh. Thanks. Bye.